Number 15. In a Whisper.
911, what is the address to your emergency?
By the Foss Street Laundromat.
What's the problem?
I've been abducted.
What would you do if you were taken and your abductor was asleep beside you? Hopefully you'd bravely follow this heroic woman's lead. She made the most of this opportunity to call police. Despite the risk involved, the Ohio woman told dispatchers in a whisper that she was in the bedroom of an abandoned house, being held captive by 40-year-old Sean Great. She begged them to come find her. She was hesitant to attempt an escape, in fear that she would wake her captor.
Is there any way you can get out of the building?
I don't know without waking him, and I'm scared.
Is there a bathroom in the house?
Well, his bedroom is closed, and he made it so it would make noise.
Luckily, the young woman was successful in leading police to the home, where he was arrested and charged with abduction. The woman had befriended Sean a month prior, after which this happened. Even more horrifying, this woman likely escaped an even more horrific fate, as 2 more women were found on the property, and Great eventually led police to a 3rd. If it wasn't for her grit and determination to live, this monster might have gone on to take the lives of many more. Number 14. Unwelcome guests. This scary 911 call found an unlikely hero in a 7-year-old. Carlos was just a kid when he dialed 911 in March of 2010 to report that 3 armed men had entered into his home in Norwalk, California. The door that the men breached was unlocked at the time, and the men threatened the boy's parents, which is when Carlos hid himself and his sister in a bathroom as he called authorities. In the phone call, he begged for the police to hurry, and the dispatcher quickly delivered them, all the while calming the frightened children.
Listen to me, take a deep breath. I already have the police coming.
Despite the men finding Carlos and his sister hiding, the young boy stayed on the phone and told the men that the police were on the line. The cowards then fled, without harming anyone or taking anything. Carlos's heroism was astonishing to police. How did he know what to do in such a crisis? Carlos and his mother had run emergency drills involving what to do in just such an event, a lesson perhaps many families should heed. Number 13. Halloween. You wouldn't think that a harmless scary movie would lead to actual real-life horror, but when 17-year-old Jake Evans watched Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween, he turned into a monster. In a gated community in Aldeo, Texas, Evans became Mike Myers. There, he took the lives of both his mother and his younger sister. He originally planned to take the lives of his grandparents who lived across the street, as well as 2 other sisters, but instead he went into the living room to dial 911 and confess his horrific actions. During the 911 call, Evans very calmly explained to the dispatcher what he did and why, calling himself evil, but then goes on to say whatever.
Okay, is there any reason that you were so angry at your mother and your sister?
I don't know. I wasn't. It's weird. I wasn't even really angry with them. It just kind of happened.
His entire written confession ran 4 pages long and detailed the motive for his actions. He claimed that his family members were becoming people he hates. He is said to have not been mentally ill prior to or during the event. In his confession, he wrote that after he took their lives, he ran to his room and yelled at the top of his lungs that he was really messed up. He wrote that he thought about the pain he caused his sister, but then justified his actions by remembering the pain she'd caused him. One day he may learn that none of this was justified. Number 12. No brakes. Imagine you're driving down the road with your entire family when you realize your brakes are out. That's what happened to a family of 4 while driving down a motorway in San Diego County. One of the passengers of the runaway vehicle, Chris Lestrella, called 911 to inform the dispatcher that the accelerator of their Lexus was stuck. During the call, which lasted 50 seconds, the dispatcher asked Chris if the car could be turned off at speeds that topped out at 120 miles per hour, with passengers praying in the back seat. The last thing heard on the disturbing call is a woman's scream.
We're approaching an intersection.
Okay.
We're approaching intersection. Hold on. Pray.
Okay.
Oh, shoot. Oh.
Okay. Hello?
The driver was a California Highway Patrol officer, while the other 3 passengers were his wife, her brother, and the couple's daughter. Investigators believe that the rubber floor mat may have trapped the accelerator. It remained unclear whether the Lexus was malfunctioning so that the driver couldn't shift into neutral or power it off. These terrifying last moments of this family's life are truly haunting. Number 11, Soul Plane Survivor. When a helicopter malfunctioned in New Mexico, miraculously one of the passengers survived. This is her 911 call.
Ma'am, stop yelling. Tell me where you're at.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. There's a big fire.
After reaching the dispatcher, Andra Cobb managed to describe the nightmare that spread before her. She herself was covered in gasoline, while 2 other passengers, the pilot Jamie Coleman Dodd and Zimbabwe opposition leader Roy Bennett, were also still alive. After the helicopter burst into flames, these 2 other passengers passed away before the police were able to locate and arrive at the scene. The desolate, rugged area delayed police response. Cobb was on the call for nearly an hour before rescuers arrived, during which she attempted to save Bennett, encouraging him to breathe. The helicopter was 3 to 5 minutes into the flight when it went down, though it isn't clear what caused it to happen. What is clear is that Cobb suffered greatly and that her 911 call is harrowing. Number 10, The Couple. 78-year-old Gunter Florchinger was married to 21-year-old Filipino native Carhina. While the age difference is certainly questionable, the couple lived in Port St. Lucie for about a year after having met online, and Carhina had a 4-year-old daughter from another man. Despite the age difference, there didn't seem to be any issues between them. That is, until Gunther made 2 phone calls at 1 a.m., one to his neighbor, asking her to pick up his wife's daughter, another to the police to confess his actions.
And that I have a baby in here. I called my neighbor to pick up the baby. Anybody who will pick up the baby is alright. After that, I will take my own life.
The elderly man had taken the life of his wife, then attempted to burn the place down with gasoline. When he called the police, he told the dispatcher that he was going to take his own life as well, which he did shortly after. The town had suffered a similar event not long before, and the quiet town was still recovering. After this incident, it must try and heal once again. Number 9, Baylor Incident. On July 9th, 2010, 20-year-old John Maynard was working the night shift at the Taft Recycling Plant in Orlando, Florida, when the baling machine jammed. He unclogged the machine. Before he could get out of the way, it restarted with the compacting ram headed towards him. He managed to lift his body out of the way, but not his right leg. The following 16 minutes, which Maynard calls the longest of his life, were crucial to his survival. Somehow, he had the calm and level head to call 911 and save his own life. During the 911 call to Orange County Sheriff's Office, Maynard explained his situation and location repeatedly. He also told the dispatcher that this was not a prank call and pled for help.
Do you have anything there you can control the bleeding with, sir?
Sir, I have nothing, sir.
Is your leg, are you or your leg still stuck in the machine, sir?
I am out. My leg is down in there. It was at my ankle, sir.
He asked the dispatchers to pray with him and requested that they pass on a message to his family, including his stepdad who adopted him, the message that he loves them, being that he was alone at the time of the call. It's remarkable how calm he remained, while experiencing this horrible incident, as he credits the dispatchers who kept him conscious during the long wait for first responders. Maynard posted his own 911 call to YouTube in an effort to aid other amputees in adapting to life without a limb. He remains committed to helping other amputees cope through his YouTube channel, Crew9T, and he has gone to live life to the fullest, even taking up rock climbing. While listening to his 911 call is scary, knowing the life he's since led is nothing short of awe-inspiring. Number 8. Abandonment. In this call, an 11-year-old informs dispatchers that his mom has been threatening to leave him and his 6-year-old brother to move away and have fun in California. Why? According to the boy, his mother said she didn't want to be around them anymore.
She said that she's gonna go to California and leave us at home by ourselves for a long time.
After he fell asleep, he woke up to find her gone. The judge who heard the case did not believe the 29-year-old mother's claims that this was all a miscommunication. She faced multiple charges and was not allowed unsupervised visits with her children, whose father was thereafter granted custody. Nothing short of horrifying. Number 7. Trapped in a cargo hold. What if you were flying and mid-air, you heard frantic screams and pounding beneath your feet? That's what happened to the passengers of this Alaska Airlines flight from Seattle to Los Angeles, after a baggage handler fell asleep inside the plane's cargo hold. When he awoke, the plane was on its way and the handler called 911 in sheer panic. "I'm inside a plane, I feel like it's moving in the air," he told the dispatcher, asking him to please stop the plane. You can listen to the entire desperate call here.
Hello, I'm trapped in this plane and I caught my job, but I'm in this plane.
You're where?
I'm inside a plane.
When the dispatcher attempts to clarify the man's information, he discovers that the call is not coming from within the airport, rather it's coming from within the plane. While the call to emergency services helped keep the man sane, it was the passengers on board who heard the man beneath their feet and alerted the crew, forcing the flight to reroute back to Seattle after being aloft for only 14 minutes. Thankfully, the crew member survived, but not before having made this terrifying phone call. Number 6. Selena. She was a rising star. Her Mexican fan base was huge. They adored her and she was on the verge of crossing over in a big way. International success was in her grasp at only 23 years old. That is until on March 31st, 1995, she had her life taken by her fan club president, Yolanda Salvador. Yolanda was an ardent and obsessive fan. She had somehow needled her way into Selena's inner circle and had been her fan club president and personal assistant for 4 years. She was responsible for collecting fan club fees and eventually was entrusted with managing 2 boutiques opened by Selena. The whole family trusted her and she was given full financial access. Behind Selena's back, Yolanda took full advantage and the boutiques fell flat, while staff began to flee due to the manager's poor treatment of them. Her tyranny only grew as she was given more and more power within the young star's management team. Eventually, however, Yolanda was discovered to have been embezzling money. After she was fired, she asked Selena to meet her at the Corpus Christi Days Inn motel, still wanting a friendly relationship with Yolanda. Selena complied, but there her short life ended when Yolanda took her life. As hotel workers called 911, the young rising star laid in the hotel lobby, where she repeatedly told them her attacker's name and her room number.
Right now? Yes, ma'am. She just passed out. Okay. I already have to call in. Somebody give some information so we can get the suspect. Okay. You don't know anything else about who might have done it or anything like that? It's another lady. That's all I know. We're trying to find out. And okay. This lady's about 40 years old.
Although Yolanda initially gave a written statement declaring her guilt, she later claimed that she was attempting to take her own life, and Selena got in the way. The entire scary and devastating event led to the anniversary of Black Friday, celebrated annually to commemorate Selena's premature passing. Number 5. Train tracks. 17-year-old Jacob Ohl from Georgia lost both his feet after getting run over by a train. He didn't hear the train's approach as he was walking on the tracks with his headphones in. After this happened, he came to on the side of the tracks, but he still managed to call 911 and report the incident.
What part of your body was hurt?
My legs.
Okay, are they broken?
I think it cut them off.
It cut them off?
Yes.
Police hurried to his location. Despite what happened, Jacob was still conscious, while Officer Andy Blimline applied tourniquets to both legs. The honors student was heading to college in the fall. In a statement on his GoFundMe page, his mother wrote, "We are so happy and feel so lucky that he's alive. We all feel lost in the overwhelming helplessness of this crazy situation." Number 4. The intruder. It was nighttime in the city when a stranger came to Karen's door, along with her child. She was scared enough to dial 911. The recording of the phone call that followed is nothing short of terrifying. In the call, the woman tells the police dispatcher that a strange man is pounding on her door, yelling at her to let him in.
Are you still with me? Tell him you've got the police on the phone.
I've got the police on the phone. Who are you? Why are you here?
He's in the bedroom with her.
The woman had locked the front door and gone to her bedroom to make the call, during which the stranger is heard trying to break down the door. The dispatcher advises her to remain on the line. After confirming her location, the woman frantically informs the police that he broke through the door and is now in the house, and soon he's right outside her bedroom. The dispatcher tells her to inform the man that the police are on the phone, likely hoping this information will scare off the intruder. It doesn't. The woman repeatedly tells him the police are on the phone and asks the stranger why he's in her home. Then, chillingly, the call ends. Further information on whether this intruder was caught could not be found. Number 3. Family horror. A 12-year-old girl called 911, telling the dispatcher that her dad was being really mean to her mom after drinking. The duration of the call went on for a horrific 17 minutes.
Get away from me! No, they're coming for you! They're all coming for you! The police and everything! You're harassing her! Are you coming soon?
Yes, honey, they're coming, okay? They're on their way.
During the call, the girl told her dad repeatedly to get off her mother. The girl, along with her 9-year-old sister, were the only ones at home. The children's mother was school teacher Angela Luke. At some point during the call, she managed to escape her husband, grab her children, and race to her vehicle, but the young girl who remained on the line with the dispatcher said her father wouldn't let them leave. Finally, the three managed to reach the car, but the horror doesn't end there. When they attempted to drive off, the man hung on to the car and fell off as her mother drove away. A day later, the man succumbed to his injuries. Unfortunately, despite surviving the incident, all three women must live with the inevitable emotional and psychological scars of this terrible event. Number 2. Face incident. When a frat boy lost his mind, a good neighbor stepped in to help. Jeff Fisher called 911 when he found 19-year-old Austin Haruff grabbing his neighbors rabidly, making animal-like noises. Fisher relayed to the police that his neighbors had his life taken, and the frat boy had attempted to take his life as well when he tried to help.
And you said you definitely saw a knife and that's what he hit you with in the back?
No, I did not see it, but my wife's looking at my back and it appears I got punctured.
The college student's psychotic behavior had been caused by having ingested bath salts. This resulted in ultra physical strength and psychosis that included eating faces, which he was doing when police arrived at the scene. Austin had stomped out on dinner with his parents earlier that evening, who had then called police to report his troubling behavior. The event that followed was completely random and described in horrifying detail by this hero who stepped in to help. Before we get to number 1, my name is Chills and I hope you're enjoying my narration. If you're curious about what I look like in real life, then go to my Instagram at DylanIsChillin CHIUSNYT and tap that follow button to find out. I recently released a small mixtape and I'd love to know what you think of it. Tap the circle icon in the top right corner, then tap my mixtape to give it a listen. It's also linked in the description below. It's a proven fact that generosity makes you a happier person, so if you're generous enough to hit that subscribe button and the bell beside it, then thank you. This way you'll be notified of the new videos we upload every Tuesday and Saturday. Number 1. Trapped by a minivan. This heartbreaking 911 call reveals the final moments of Kyle Plush's young life. The 16-year-old was pinned beneath the third row folding seat of his Honda Odyssey van in the school parking lot. As police tried to find the boy's location, the calls he made to the dispatcher were gut-wrenching, the second of which went unanswered.
This is not a joke. I'm trapped inside my gold Honda Odyssey van in the Southwood parking lot of 7 Hills Beth. Send officers immediately. I'm almost dead.
During the final call, which Kyle dialed using voice commands, neither the dispatcher nor Kyle could hear each other. Kyle did not relay the address where he was trapped. During the second call, Kyle was able to tell dispatchers what kind of vehicle he was trapped in. He also said, "I probably don't have much time left. Tell my mom I love her." Police took hours to find the boy, by which time the high school sophomore had passed away. This is a painful listen, as you can hear the desperation in the teen's voice as his cries for help go unanswered. Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday. Or if you're still not convinced, here are some of our other videos that I think you'd like. Enjoy!